It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is already Tuesday, the 18th day of September, 2012, and we're going to be here for the next 3 hours, and we have Paul Joseph Watson joining us to break down all the different preparations, not just in the United States, but also in Europe, for what you would call martial law, basically. So we're going to be going over all of that today. We are also going to be looking at the ongoing carnage in the Middle East and what's happening with the announcement of unlimited QE and how all that ties together. I also want to analyze the campaign propaganda going on by the Obama system and the Romney system. But I tell you, you've seen Obama come out and say, you didn't build that. To all the small business people and entrepreneurs out there that go through living hell with the regulations and bureaucracy and fluoride population to try to actually build companies and operations. And I'm not a defender of Mitt Romney, but when Mitt Romney is being attacked for showing some semblance of what this republic was built on, you have to defend the ideas that are under attack. And so I will be defending the so-called Mother Jones secret video of him at a fundraiser. Now, it wasn't Obama in San Francisco saying, don't worry, we'll get these bitter clingers that cling to their Bibles and their guns with disdain. He was saying, look, 47% of the population is on government dole of one way or another. And he said they're going to vote for bigger government. And there's nothing you can do about that. And he said, I'm here to represent those of you that actually produce, which isn't really true. He represents the big global monopoly banks that also use government and all the corporate welfare to expand their empire. But his rhetoric is true, trying to get votes. So the fact that that rhetoric is under attack, the rhetoric must be defended because it's very accurate. The globalists know that once they get 55% of the population dependent on government, they will vote to turn their guns in. They will vote to turn your guns in. They will vote to take your property. They will vote to put you in a slave camp. That happens in every communist society, to produce things for them. And the system will let its welfare recipients, corporate and low level, sit there and get fat doing nothing or working in a bureaucrat job, wearing a uniform of some type, ordering you around. So this is the model we're going into. It's a hellish society. It's a terrible society. That's where we're going. And so this is basically the establishment striking back against you didn't build that comments of Barack Obama. So when we come back from break, we'll get into that and also a lot of the other top news that is being reported on right now. U.S. Embassy in Beirut destroys classified documents, prepares for protest. CIA-sponsored Taliban attack Camp Bastion with orders to kidnap or kill Prince Harry. Yeah, let's not forget Taliban, Al-Qaeda, all these groups stirred up, created by the globalist, who then says, give your rights up because of the thing they created. U.S. caught creating, and that is people that run our country, I should add, caught creating 3 new computer viruses. That's connected to the Obama administration trying to pass their cybersecurity takeover. Anti-Muslim film setting the stage for October surprise and restrictions on free speech. It's all up there at Infowars.com. We mentioned this a few days ago, but it's in the New American Magazine now. Taxpayers to fund Hollywood Obamacare movie. And Hollywood Obamacare propaganda interspersed in the news and TV. Yeah, when you turn the television on, movies, all of it's just a bunch of brainwashing. Also, controversial naked airport body scanners to be scrapped for failing to receive European approval. The Daily Mail bemoans the fact they love their naked picture being taken and being microwaved. That and a lot more today, and your phone calls. I'll get the number out coming up. But first, we're going to get to this so-called secret video from Mother Jones. Infowars.com. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get into the giant ongoing conflagration that has been set off in the Middle East by al-Qaeda, that our criminal government publicly created in 1979 and is publicly injecting into every major country in the Middle East with their little henchmen, the Saudi Arabians. All of that is going on and taking place. This is the political distraction for the banking takeover that is unfolding. We're going to be going over what's happening in the economy today, and Paul Joseph Watson will join us in the next hour. Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com reporter, and of course one of the anchors for Infowars Nightly News, looking at domestic preparations for collapse. You see, we've had threats of Iranian war before. We've had threats of hyperinflation before. We've had all these threats before as the world slides into this global depression that's been engineered to consolidate wealth. But now we've got all the intel of government running around, battening down the hatches, digging in, buying 1.4 billion plus rounds of ammo. Watson's got an article coming out in the next 30 minutes with even more ammo they're buying. We're going to be breaking that report. So all of this tied together really shows a perfect storm of biblical proportions, because if there is a wider Middle East war and the Russians or Chinese are brought in over deals they have with Iran and Syria, Katie bar the door. Now, again, we can move back from the precipice just like during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1961 or other events that have taken place. But regardless, the world is in a very, very serious position right now. Now, that said, I want to get into domestic politics first here, because when you get down to it, Obama and Romney are funded by the very same mega banks, institutions, crony capitalist, monopoly men, insiders. But Romney is on the surface enough different that conservatives and libertarians are supposed to see him as the lesser of two evils. And we've had, obviously, endless discussions and debates about this fact. But Romney must be defended in one major respect, because he is the synthetic, false standard bearer for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, free market, rugged individualism. That's what the Republican Party supposedly represents. And then it misrepresents it to give all of those great things a bad name. The media blames the crony insider garbage, the tens of trillions in banker bailouts. They blame that on capitalism when it was government teamed up with select corporations and banks that created the mess we're in right now, out of their greed and hubris. So what I'm getting at here is that when Obama comes out and says, if you got a small business, you didn't build that. Government basically did. Social engineers created the system that allowed you to have this business, which at one level is partially true, but that's the collective wealth and work and intelligence of the society in concert, and then a limited government working as the system to direct it. And I'm not saying that's the only way we could go, but that's been the system we've had for thousands of years. Big governments destroy things and bring things into stagnation. That's well known, maxim of history. But it is the human initiative and spark and drive and energy and competitiveness that animates the socioeconomic system. It is the taste of the public that will reflect its mind into the architecture, into the art, into the literature, into the style, into the manner, into the culture of the people. So the statement by Obama, before I get into the big Mitt Romney controversy, the statement by Obama that you didn't build that. We've played the clip ad nauseum. No need to replay it here. You can look it up. Watch the whole speech. He explains government organized it, government did it, and collectively we built this. Yes, but we were collectively led by the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's always different forces in society, and no one can deny that big government, out-of-control government, has been created and fostered and supported by selective big corporate interests that don't want freedom and don't want competition and who want to shut down the family itself, because any sovereignty, any allegiance not owed to the corporate Borg state gets in the way of them being able to politically rewrite us like a computer disk whenever they want. They want you mindless and doing whatever they say, a fad-driven, empty creature, a biological android. But let me just put this in simple terms, okay, and state it clearly. When Obama comes out and says you didn't build that, that is the social engineers assaulting the mind of humanity and assaulting the mind of the individual and waging war against the greatest elements of our species. Competitiveness, art, enjoying the fruits of your own labor, that is a full frontal assault on that. By the ruling class that craves, the technocratic class that craves controlling your mind, that craves controlling art, that craves dominating. Studying Eastern Germany under the communists, Russia under the communists, China under the communists, and other authoritarians, the Nazis as well, they all craved controlling art and the theater and the literature, and they would make all the famous artists come to them and beg them to allow their books to be published. They would make them change things. They would make them make films. You know, Hitler constantly made every star, especially every female star, come visit him and kiss his butt if they were going to be allowed to be in the theater. That's what government's about, is these nobody thugs, these greasy scumbags of government and the corporate interests that control them, getting together and dominating society. Reveling in the domination, reveling in the control. I mean, that is such a on-fire authoritarian statement by Obama to come out and say you didn't build that, and then have all the Democrats and all the collectivists and all of these people who feel power through the system. Mid-level bureaucrats and high-level ones, I've met them, I've talked to them, they revel in the power. And they'll tell you, the state is behind me, you will be defeated, you will be absorbed. You know, we are the Borg. Resistance is futile. They are empty, pathetic people who are gang members. They're in a gang saying, we didn't build it. You know, when I paint a painting, I did build it. When my wife and I got together and had children, we did build it. She built it in her womb. When I set up InfoWars 15 years ago, I did build it. I did build it. I did put the initiative in. I did communicate. It was my drive, my impetus, reaching out with others that have like minds, interfacing together, that built what we've got here to resist the globalist. And so the statement by the collectivists that have now gotten about half the population on the dole and dependent, not to empower them, but to enslave them, they're now saying you didn't build that, because they're getting their armies ready intellectually, their bureaucrats, their controllers, to come out and take everything we've got in controlled class warfare to wipe out the ultra-riches elite, the middle class, and nouveau riche. We're now at the precipice. Now, all of that said, when we come back, we'll play the Mitt Romney clip. And again, I'm not defending Mitt Romney himself. His voting record is clear. He's a globalist. But if they can attack Mitt Romney and say, how dare him say 47% are dependent and they don't care what the government does, they're going to support big government, they're going to support Obama, that's truth. And of course, Romney only says the truth with a group of upper middle class and rich donors. And that scares the system. And by the way, Romney's done the right thing. He's owned it. Romney sticks by victims comment, but calls them off the cuff. This whole liberal system isn't liberal. It's about disempowering you. It's about scaring you about what's outside the matrix, what's outside the dome city. You don't want to go up there. You want to stay down here. It's about Plato's cave. It's about keeping you on the reservation. It's about controlling you. And so now we must defend Romney because this is a fight between forces of total collectivism and slavery and centralization and those of us that understand this long train of domestication that people like Governor Romney helped create. We know Romney's a globalist, but he's taking the place, he's standing in the position of liberty and freedom so they can have controlled opposition. But Obama and Romney are fighting over the levers of power right now, so we have to come out and say, no, what Mitt Romney said is correct, what Mitt Romney said is right. Regardless of who's behind Mitt Romney, we cannot allow them to demonize the entrepreneurs of this country. The problem we have in this society is that people don't know the real definitions of things. They think there's Republican and Democrat. And the average Republican is taught all corporations are good, all mega banks are good, Walmart is good, every big organization is as pure as a driven snow, GMO is good for you no matter if it's 5 different species mixed together with a live pesticide that the plant grows that kills bugs that eat it, but you're supposed to be okay eating it. The mainline Republicans think everything non-government's good, everything government's bad. Democrats think everything government is good and that collectivism and basically socialism is the way to go. They tell you, oh, England is so great, we're going to have health care like they have. And you're like, it's absolutely hellish. Do you know anything about it? I mean, 2 and a half waiting lines for basic surgeries. People dying in mass. I mean, I can show you C-SPAN, their own parliament, admitting it. They're like, no, you're a liar, you're a right-winger. So overall, the Democrats, on average, are very naive, childlike weirdos. So I generally, intellectually, would find myself more of what they call right-wing. The problem is the right-wing are a bunch of naive fools as well. Because they don't understand that the big 6 megabanks on record are the ones financing the Nature Conservancy and Sierra Club to take over private property. They're the ones financing the carbon taxes that wrote up the plan. They're the ones that want a corporate hostile takeover, and they're using government to do it. They're using government force through the EU and the national security state in the United States and England to set up a planetary corporate government that openly says your family and your future is serfdom, if you're lucky. So if people don't get smart and get wise to how the real world works, we don't have a future, ladies and gentlemen. And it's so frustrating to now be at the point where these corporatists who said over 100 years ago in National Banking Association publications, you name it, we've read them on air, you know, we've got to take over education. We've got to dumb people down. We've got to reduce the vocabulary. Americans are too smart. They're too savvy. They don't trust the system. This is the robber barons over 100 years ago saying we want to take over completely. And they were being defeated at that time. People were waking up to them. And so they developed all the different programs you see today to domesticate you. They take the middle class's money, give it to the poor people, domesticate them, grow the number of poor people, dumb them down, and then use them to become the bureaucratic force to then take the rest of the wealth of what's left, while the globalists exempt themselves from all the taxes and all the regulations. They think the public is so stupid that they go on the news, CNN, ABC, you name it, and say, Warren Buffett doesn't pay many taxes. Hey, his secretary pays a higher percentage. which is all true because Warren Buffett helped write the laws in the 80s and 90s to do it. Bill Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall to allow all this to take place. And then Bush continued it, and then Obama continued it. This has all been charted out, and you sit here and you talk to adults, and they have no idea how the world really works. It's so frightening. I don't get some uppity feeling whenever I talk to executives and people and they're ignorant. It scares me. Because if little Alex Jones knows more than most people, even people worth billions of dollars I've had a chance to meet, my God, we're in trouble. That's all I can tell you, because the way the world works is right there, ladies and gentlemen. You got special interest running big government to domesticate society and shut down their competition, period. And if Republicans don't get that through their brains, there goes all the prosperity and there goes the freedom. People ask, who do I work for? Who am I with? What do I stand for? I talk to so many bureaucrats, so many spies, so many agents, so many corporate people, and they say, who do you really work for? You couldn't have done this on your own. Where did you come from? And I always tell them, don't you understand there's some people in this world who don't have to go work through some system to become successful. They become successful because they have ideas that are popular and ideas that make sense. When I come back, I'm going to get into Mitt Romney and this so-called scandal. And I'm not bragging about myself here. When you're in a lie, that's all you see. When you've got your head in a bag, all you see is the bag. Pull the bag off. Take the blinders off. Get out of the box, come out of the cave, come out of the matrix, take the red pill, whatever the analogy is, it's all right there. The elite think you're so stupid, they admit all this in white papers. Read Tragedy and Hope. It's at Infowars.com. All right, Mitt Romney, funded by Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, the same people financing Obama, who themselves capitalized, J.P. Morgan especially, off of running the National Food Stamp Program, and who promote and lobby in government for more dependency. He told the truth privately. You know, I wish Mitt Romney would say stuff like this publicly, that you got 47% of people dependent on the government. And they've shipped our jobs to China. They've put regulations on us to shut things down, to make it harder. And there are a lot of people with disabilities and problems and multi-generational welfare where I understand you're dependent now. I'm not even saying you're a bad person. But the truth is you've been made to be domesticated, just like a domesticated, dog. If you throw it out with coyotes, they're going to kill it and eat it. And now we are here to the point as a society where it's bad to say, hey, we don't want everybody dependent. And that's a dangerous thing. When upwards of 50% become dependent, they will vote in a democracy to take everything the other people have. That's why Benjamin Franklin said that democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. A republic is completely different. You have absolute right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, to your family, to your private property, to your body. And just because somebody else, if 51% vote to make you go work Sundays in work brigades, digging ditches, or serving mint juleps to the elite at their plantation, you don't have to do that. If 51% votes that you've got to join their religion, whether it be Catholicism, mainline Protestantism, Jewish religion, Islam, animism, whatever the case is, or atheism. 51% say we're an atheist country now, we're going to put you in prison. The other 49% if you don't serve us. In a republic, you have a Bill of Rights, a Constitution, that are the rules of the road that you cannot violate. Now they're saying, hey, you didn't build that. You didn't build that business. You didn't set that up. And so it's such a fundamental attack on society at every level to now they've got everybody on the defensive if you want to have your own business or keep any of your money. And we will go the way of France, where they've got over 85% taxes on the population, totally controlled, a giant government, bureaucrats everywhere looking into every facet of your life, but the ultra-rich are basically exempt from all their own laws. Just like General Electric and Google pay zero most years, some years 2, 3, 4% taxes. While General Electric lobbies for higher income taxes through the Federal Reserve on the general public, because they get the money in corporate welfare and government jobs. The government shuts down the other coal plants that GE doesn't own. And the list goes on and on. So that's where we stand. I know the general audience out there understands this, but we have to get this information out to everybody. Now, continuing here, Romney sticks by victims' comments but calls them off the cuff. Mitt Romney is sticking by his comments captured in a video at a fundraiser earlier this year in which he told donors that President Obama and his supporters are reliant on government, don't pay taxes, and believe they are victims. Yeah, what, government workers, I've seen numbers, are 2 to 1 going to vote for Obama. The welfare class, it's over 90% is going to vote for Obama. And it's basically game over at that point. You see, that's why they want the 30 million illegal aliens legalized, and why Obama has just legalized most of them by fiat. No law, he just did it. Was because the illegals get here, and they go and work, but they also get fake identities that the IRS provides them, that's on record, and then go get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, in some cases, per home, hundreds of identities and hundreds of checks. That's why illegal aliens are driving around in the brand new trucks, living in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 bedroom houses, totally rich, you know, from poor people's standards. Because they say, my name's whatever you want it to be, cop. Go ahead and arrest me. The judge will let me out for $10. That's on record. Police are told don't arrest illegals. If they arrest illegals in Phoenix, the feds come and start an investigation. That's happened there in the county, Maricopa County. Again, it's not that we couldn't have immigrants here, but the immigrants that came to this country and made it what it is busted their butts. Whether they were immigrants from China who've been coming here for 200 years, never hear about them, or whether they were from Germany or Italy or Ireland or England or Romania, or there were African immigrants that didn't just come here as slaves. And believe me, the immigrants that were slaves that were brought here, they certainly worked hard. That's what built this country, not 100+ million people on out-and-out welfare and food stamps. You count welfare and food stamps, it's over 100 million. You count everybody who is dependent on government one way or another, it's over 200 million. Basically, that's why it's game over. You got 150+ million who are dependent one way or the other, but over 200 million that are somewhat dependent. Romney's right. 47% plus are totally 100% dependent. You can look at the numbers different ways, but some numbers are over 50%. But over 200 million, over 2/3, are somewhat dependent. But right at half are totally dependent. And it's come out with the IRS whistleblowers. It's all come out that right here in Austin, they issue millions of fake tax ID numbers that the banks just accept if you're an illegal alien. It's totally discriminatory. You walk in Bank of America, Wells Fargo, anywhere, you're an illegal alien, you get whatever you want. But you're a citizen, they treat you like crap and charge you to even have your money in their bank. Oh, yeah, I can't find banks out there that don't charge me, to even business accounts that don't charge you, because the money's crud. The banks have got all of our money they want, unlimited. They just use money as a way to manipulate society. They have unlimited. And they have pretty much gotten their major beachhead in of dumbing the population down and getting 47% on the dole. And you've got even mainline Republicans coming out against Romney, because now it's time, with him playing the part, I'm not saying even consciously, for him to be the titular head, the punching bag, to say, hey, you don't say it's wrong to have 47% totally dependent. And it's game over. They will vote to take our guns. They will vote to take your children. They will vote, as Rahm Emanuel, as the White House Chief of Staff said on C-SPAN, we're going to put you in forced work brigades. High school is going to become work brigades. They said we're going to make you do national service in the new National Corps domestically, a group just as big and just as strong as the military. I mean, it's a total conversion to like some type of Soviet model with a bunch of offshore banks running it and sucking all the money and profit out. All over Texas where I live, but it's nationwide, every town is falling to Agenda 21 right now. They're rolling in with HUD money and UN money, and they're just signing the cities over to the UN. Elgin, you name it. We've sent Aaron Dykes to towns all around Austin. Austin's already fallen to them. They take anybody's property they want. They selectively take your property if you have a certified tree on it, you know, a tree bigger than, what is it, 16 inches. They're not letting you have wells. They're trying to put meters on everything. They're just taking over. They're the mafia. The colleges are turning out all the environmental assessment people. They've got a career. They're going to go defend the career they paid $150,000 for. And their career is running our lives. You know, I'm going to take my son bird hunting, and I went and got the stupid license and scanned my driver's license and everything. He wants to go hunting. It's a you know, a right that you know, young people have an instinct for. He's been hunting before. We're going out to our old East Texas ranch we've had since 1830. And I just know, no matter how deep in the woods I get, when I come out, there's going to be game wardens. And it doesn't matter how many times they come harass us, how many times I've talked to them, they're going to sit there, even if I'm not hunting, camping, got a fire, cooking food in a cookhouse, door opens, here comes 10 of them. And they don't look like the game wardens of 20 years ago. They don't act like it. They're in your face. You are seen as a lamb chop, and they're a wolf. And it's just not a free country. It's not a free country. It's a joke, okay? And I love this country. We're not going to get it back unless we admit we become an authoritarian joke. Did you hear Max Kaiser yesterday? And it's true. We showed the news articles here on air. Corrections Corporations of America and others, there's 3 big companies, a few dozen smaller ones, are lobbying state legislatures to throw nonviolent offenders away, but release violent offenders. They're building new prisons everywhere. They've got a guarantee to keep them at 90% occupancy. And they've got factories built onto them. Repairing electronics, doing customer service. It's not just furniture and license plates. And it's what's shutting all the towns down around them. You think Walmart shuts your businesses down? What about a prison? Remember Tulia, Texas? I interviewed the award-winning journalist from Texas Monthly who broke it all down. He went and infiltrated it, you know, talked to all the people involved, and it came out that they built a prison in West Texas, and they just rounded up all the poor people, planted drugs on them, because the local town fathers actually had the contract for the prison and the hotel for visitors to the prison. So they just started arresting all the poor people in the town and putting hundreds of them in there. Tulia, Texas, you can look it up. And then even pulling over families that drove through the town and throwing drugs in their car to put them in jail. I mean, that's all this is the government are a bunch of spiders that run out and grab us and drag us off into the dark, and I, for one, am done with it. And we've got a bunch of dependent, snot-nosed scum that serve these foreign banks at every level, from the welfare to the corporate welfare to the defense contractors to the police to the bureaucrats to all of you, who see us as the enemy. And I'm just so tired of it. I'm just so tired of being around it. I'm so tired of seeing it. I'm so tired of stupid people. I'm so tired of dumbed-down people. I'm so tired of nobodies in their bureaucrat outfits with their clipboards or their uniforms that want you to know they got power. They want you to know you're trash. They want you to know you're their food. And I'm not your chew toy. I'm not your food. I believe in 1776. I know what our forebears went through. And let me tell you something. We're going through something a lot worse right now, and it's going to get a lot worse. And I want to tell all the bureaucrats that serve it something. Your masters are going to implode everything. They're going to take your pension funds. Your good times are going to end. But you won't care, because all you care about is your petty power. I understand that. And your masters know that too, because you're cowards. You're going to go along with everything that happens in this country. The re-education camps, everything. You're going to love it, because you are scum of the earth. Now, I know there are a lot of good people that work for the system and the bureaucracy and the corporate system and all the rest of it. But I'm talking to those out there that enjoy it and are proud of it. It's one thing if you work in the system and you know it's broken, you know it's dangerous, and you know it's bad. But if you think it's all cute and funny and you're dumbed down to the point, or were hired as a bureaucrat because you got a 85 IQ and you just enjoy having power over people, listen, moron. This isn't what America or freedom was built on. Let's go to the Romney clip. Here's Romney. Mother Jones, Jimmy Carter's grandson, reportedly filmed this and got it out. Going in to pay the thousands of dollars to be in the Mitt Romney meeting to say what those business owners, those car dealership and restaurant owners and local bank chairmen and authors and inventors, that's who goes. Engineers, that's who goes and pays $5, $10, $15, $20,000 to sit there at different meetings with Mitt Romney. And then when Mitt Romney gets in there and they say no filming, it's so they can close the door at the fancy hotel and Mitt Romney can say, I know you're concerned about the fact that you understand that when 50+% of people are on the dole, they're going to take over society and you're going to be robbed. And don't worry, I want to represent you. Well, even if he wanted to represent you, he's not going to be allowed to represent you. Because the mega banks he works for want to get rid of you. And middle class, you better get that. You're not going to save America and prosperity and freedom and what we've built that's made all these lazy people be able to sit there on their hind ends all day. We're not going to be able to continue any of this if you don't get religion. And by get religion, if you don't figure out just how much trouble we're in. But the fact that the media is trying to go after Mitt Romney for saying 47% are dependent, so they're going to vote for the dependency party, that's saying it's wrong to tell the truth. Here's the clip.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. But it's an entitlement, and government should give it to them. And they will vote for this president no matter what. And I mean, the president starts off with 48, 49, 40, he starts off with a huge number. These are people who pay no income tax. 47% of Americans pay no income tax. So our message of low taxes doesn't connect. And he'll be out there talking about tax cuts for the rich. I mean, that's what they sell every 4 years. And so my job is not to worry about those people. I'll never convince them. They should take personal responsibility and care for their lives. What I have to do is convince the 5 to 10% in the Senate that are independent, that are thoughtful, that look at voting one way or the other depending upon, in some cases, emotion, whether they like the guy or not.
And Mother Jones first put that video out, and they're very, very proud of themselves. Now, again, when you're looking at what Mitt Romney said, it's not entirely true. People that either don't make enough to pay income tax, you're still paying 10% or so for FICA. You're never going to get that Social Security and the other little fees and things. Your employer is having to match that, so that's money you would have gotten. So whatever your employer is paying you, you're actually paid a higher rate. It's just extra money goes to the government. Also, the income taxes on business, state income taxes, all the rest of it, that gets passed on in the cost of products. So all of you out there that think, oh, you're getting a free ride, you're not really getting a free ride. And by the way, once they have you vote liberty and freedom out of the country, once they get enough people domesticated, they always implode things after, let the giant horde basically be involved in the takeover of society. And then you all get shut down and put in work camps. So, you know, the welfare state is going to be coming to an end very, very soon. Because the bankers are just in the process of destroying this country. Then they'll just move on. That's what the globalists do. Because it's about power, it's about domination, it's about control. We'll give you some geopolitical news and economic news on the other side. Stay with us. The reason we knew what the mega banks were going to do is that for more than 150 years, they've done it in Europe, Eastern Europe, and what is Latin America today. They've done it everywhere. They come and they loan fiat money, paper money to countries. They pay off the dictator or the oligarchs or oligarchy to not pay the money back, and the contract is signed to hand over the natural resources. And then when they don't pay it back, they don't care. They're getting real resources. It's all fiat money to begin with that's written off. But that's not good enough. You go back to the home country, England or the U.S., the empire, Germany, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, the different empires, French, and you say, oh, it's really more than 150, but this is really intensified the last 150, 200. Oh, this is all mainline history. We just read it. It's all out there. Oh, we loaned to help get our colony going, in Paraguay or wherever it is. We loan them $1 million of this or that, or in today's numbers, $1 billion of this or that, and they didn't pay it back. Our system is going to go bankrupt, and these banks that signed on to underwrite it are, if you don't bail us out. These bailouts have been going on for hundreds of years. They're not even bailouts. How many times has our government bailed out Mexico after they hyperinflate their currency? And all it is another wealth transfer. I mean, they play on the ignorance. They play on it. There's more than one way to rob a bank. Idiots go rob banks. Smart people go to Harvard, they get degrees, they go work for big hedge funds and big banks, and they sell fraudulent derivatives. Or they pay off the government to shut down factories that they don't own, or coal plants they don't own. That's hundreds of billions a year they're already making just in the last 3 years. Hundreds of billions. Look it up. Hundreds. It's over 200 billion last time I checked. The select coal companies that are insiders have made since hundreds of plants have been shut down that weren't owned by them. I mean, the power prices everywhere are going off the chart. They're literally a foreign army bombing us couldn't cut off our power like this. We're being destroyed by design. And that's not just rhetoric, it's happening. We're going into a tyranny. Everybody should be upset about this. What about our children? What about being under strongmen? What about being under thugs? What about living in something like that? You should all be very upset, not scared. You should be scared that they're going to take over and win, not scared so you shut up and let them win. Look at these economic articles. I haven't even got into them. I'll get into them after Paul Watson joins us on the geopolitical ramifications for about 40 minutes. Fed's QE infinity. By the way, I coined this last week. I remember saying QE infinity and QE unlimited. I'm not bragging. I just coined so much stuff that I know I said first. Of course, that's really what it is, so someone else may have actually thought of the same thing. I've learned a lot. A lot of times people don't plagiarize you. They have the same understanding. So I don't know, but it's a quote here out of CNBC. Fed's QE infinity will push gold up to 2,400, says Pro. And a bunch of the big groups are saying that. In one of the most bullish gold calls since the Federal Reserve announced a new round of easing last week, one strategist sees 36% jump, there's a whole bunch of groups saying that, to 2,400 announced by the end of 2014. The new target reflects our view that the Fed will maintain mortgage purchases until the end of 2014 and will move to buy treasuries following the end of Operation Twist this coming December, wrote Francisco Blanche, a global investment strategist with the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, in a note to clients Tuesday. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Second hour, 1 minute away. All right, we are blasting out on the AM and FM dial. And, of course, global shortwave and satellite XM 166. We are simulcasting at prisonplanet.tv right now, the video. Up on screen, CNBC dollar index headed for rapid collapse chart show. Yeah, that's not their opinion. That's the chart. And look at that chart. And that's what happens. They haven't done quantitative easing. That is giving themselves tens of trillions in about a year, as you can see there on the chart. So the dollar was going down over the last couple of years. Now they're starting it again. It's going back down. It's seesawing. But if you look at a 10-year graph, whether it goes up or down, overall it's going down. Same thing with every other major currency. This is all part of this insider-run market. And just amazing headline also from CNBC. Fed's QE infinity will push gold up to $2,400 an ounce, says Pro. We're going to be breaking that down in about 40 minutes. I've got a whole stack of economic news that we're going to be breaking down here. And then we'll have open phones in the third hour. I'll do nothing but phone calls in the third hour here today. Coming up, we've got a lot of other news that we're going to be breaking down after the break when we go to break and come back with Paul Joseph Watson of prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. He also, as you know, is a popular host of Infowars Nightly News when he sits in at least once a week. And so he's going to be joining us coming up after the break because I wanted to get him on about a big article. In fact, it may have already gone up. I think it was supposed to go up by the time he was on with us at Infowars.com, dealing with bullets and the fact that the government has purchased even more bullets on top of the $1.4 billion, and how that ties into all the other preparations for collapse. See, they're always talking about attacking Iran, and they've been attacking Iran through proxy groups and terrorist groups and destabilization groups and Stuxnet worms and cyber-type attacks. But now it's all the domestic preparations. It's the economic meltdown accelerating. That's what adds in to this larger constellation of information. And that's why I feel a disturbance in the force, or the spidey sense, to use popular culture nomenclature. Watch your six, Big Daddy, is what I'm saying to everybody out here, because we're getting a lot of flack. Those of us that promote liberty and freedom, we're seeing big pushes for cybersecurity that even CBS News, CNET reports will curtail freedom and tax the internet. I mean, it's just authoritarianism in general is rolling forward real fast. And it's not going to be good for anybody, including the elite long term. But they're so competitive, they're so paranoid, they're so dominant that they want it all. Because they don't really have a total world government yet. They're kind of jockeying for it. And as the world government gets built, there's different factions that never tear down the world government because they all see themselves at the top of the pyramid. As the pyramid's being built by us, the slaves, as we're building our own prison, the controllers, the engineers, the architects, who are building different parts of it, and it's not perfectly built either. It's been built over time by corruption and greed and deception and think tanks and the science of control. As they prepare to complete it, they're now fighting more than ever over who's going to get to be at the top perch. Like a bunch of cockatoos in a tree quacking, squeaking and squawking and crowing and yelling. You watch all those Republicans in that Mother Jones video all around Romney, just, oh, the power, they could only climb the ladder higher, that would fulfill them. You will be fulfilled the moment you decide to stand with humanity, and not a second before that. You will never be fulfilled serving status. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up in about 40 minutes, I'm going to break down CNBC. Fed's QE infinity, that's a term I coined, will push gold up to $2,400 an ounce, says top pro and investment strategist at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And, of course, you saw months ago George Soros and a lot of the other top guys doubling their gold in a single day in Soros's case. We're going to be looking at all of that coming up. Also, FedEx is reporting that they're seeing the economy really fold. Their business is imploding. Again, this has been engineered, but they want to continue to basically con everybody so that they feel like and think that, oh, things will get better. No, it's designed to consolidate. Dollar index headed for rapid collapse. The chart, CNBC. Poll, are Americans too dependent on government? We're going to be going over some of that. Again, FedEx says economy is worsening, cuts outlook. That is just some of what we're going to be going over. Here is the poll out of Gallup that actually proves what Mitt Romney is being attacked for saying. And again, folks know that I'm not some big fan of Mitt Romney, but when he stands up for basic issues of truth, we have to defend him. Because if we just let his personality that's unpopular with some, be tied to free market, liberty, private property, the American system, then it's game over. But here's the Gallup poll. Majority in U.S. still say government doing too much. Okay, so people agree with that, but we have 60+% of Democrats saying they want it to do more. We'll be going over some of those numbers again in the second or third of this second hour here today. We're going to be breaking all of that down. I mean, all Mitt Romney said, we played the clip last hour. This is the big news today. Not that Obama and his controllers put al-Qaeda in control of Libya and Syria and turned it over control of Egypt to al-Qaeda light, and then now want us to give our rights up and our guns up because of the al-Qaeda threat that they have basically put in charge. No, 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 no. The big issue is Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney said, hey, they're trying to get the public dependent so that they'll vote for big government. Oh, really? That's what a Democratic strategists have said for 80 years. I mean, that's not debatable. They want us dependent. And so do the Republicans. They go along with all this. Look at Bush and his no child, left behind federalization of education, his prescription drug program, a giveaway to the big insurance companies and big pharma. Look at Romney writing the health care plan that Obama adopted because the insurance companies told him what to put together, which forces us to buy their products. So he wants to get elected claiming he's going to battle this collectivist takeover. My point is that it shows how far we've gone that he's being attacked for pointing out what's true. But notice Mitt Romney said this in private to big donors. He isn't saying that on the campaign trail. He would win hands down if he went out and talked like that right now. He would win hands down. And if he would go out and publicly speak and pledge to do that, well, then maybe we'd have a snowball's chance in hell. But I'm being sarcastic, ladies and gentlemen. It's a snowball's chance in hell that he would ever actually even do any of this. The point is, though, that you're then forced to defend him because now it's un-American to not want half the public dependent on government. And again, once they pass that magic number of over 50%, and they tell us we're a democracy, 51% can take everything the rest of us have. That's why in a republic, you can't do that. If the town votes 51% to take your farm with no compensation, they can't do it because that's robbery, because you have private property rights. But we don't anymore under this global system. And it isn't a bunch of welfare moms organizing this takeover. It's mega banks who are exempt from the collectivism they push on us. It's a corporate takeover we're facing against all the good corporations and private businesses and families and companies and institutions that want a level playing field and really want to compete and kick butt. Ladies and gentlemen, all over the country, we are put on AM and FM stations and end up defeating whoever we're up against. It's happened in just the last year, 5 cities with instant ratings, the people meters, the computers. Instead of it being an Arbitron, which is owned by the Dutch, same group that controls Nielsen has been proven to be a fraud. Well, now they have these meters that have been really proving more accurate. They've got different companies doing it, but the point is, we will destroy Rush Limbaugh. They'll put us on a station, say Orlando, 810 there, and they put us on the weekend, got really popular. So they put us on at night, gets really popular. They put us on for 1 year, little over a year, in the day, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern, Rush Limbaugh slot. I never got that slot to go up against Rush Limbaugh. That's where Genesis put me. I thought 9 to midnight was the better slot, but they said, this is the slot we want you in. Then later they wanted me to do the nighttime slot, too, and I did that for a while. And I've been offered all sorts of syndication things if I would do the nighttime 9 to midnight. I just can't do 2 shows a day, but the point is, maybe I should. I'm going to go to Paul Watson. The point is that we beat him. I mean, I'm talking about in just 6 months, they went from number 6 or number 7, depending on the demographic, to number 1. But it didn't matter because the local, the big establishment sponsors didn't come through, and so they went back to a music format because that's what the elderly wanted in the area. Number 1 in Orlando, and it just switched formats Went there, spoke to 1,200 people. They turned away probably 500. I can go anywhere and speak to thousands. Much bigger than Glenn Beck when it comes to actual crowds of people. Right now I can do that. But see, we're real. In this world, it isn't just about getting the top ratings. It isn't about winning the race. It's rigged to a great extent. But the internet has begun to change all of that and create more of a level playing field. And so the establishment is coming in trying to censor and control the web now because the system can't stand the fact that real intellect and real understanding can trump all of their big money and propaganda. Just an example. The show's exploding. We're getting new affiliates every week. It's just that you still always lose some by attrition as they sell or change formats. All right, we're going to cover that more at the end of the hour. Let's go right now to Paul Joseph Watson joining us. You can watch him if you're a prisonplanet.tv subscriber. You can watch the daily radio show with all of our guests. It adds a whole other element. And your membership, $5.95 a month, I should also add, funds what we're doing here at prisonplanet.tv. You also get the nightly news. And get to see folks like Watson here and see the documents and video clips, and it adds a whole nother dimension and then some to what we're doing. So be sure and check out prisonplanet.tv. I want to thank all those members. Okay, Paul, I want to get into the whole geopolitical realm, what you've been researching, your take on the buildup for war, Al-Qaeda attacking embassies that our own government put in, what you think the grand stratagem is from your research. But first, after you're on today, the article will come out dealing with more bullet purchases and the whole domestic buildup. See, it's the police state buildup coupled with everything else that tells us we're in a very dangerous time. Give us your take on that, Paul Joseph Watson.
Hi, Alex. Good to be back. Yeah, basically, as many of the listeners will know, over the past 6 months, mainly the Department of Homeland Security, but also other federal agencies, have basically purchased bullets, rounds of ammunition in huge numbers. Before this recent purchase, which I'll talk about, they were up to 1.2 billion rounds of ammo purchased just in the last 6 months alone. And that's only the Department of Homeland Security. So now we've got a new story coming out shortly where the DHS has purchased a further 200 million rounds of ammunition. And an interesting detail of this story is the fact that a portion of it is blank ammunition, and in it they state that it's going to be used to train new snipers. That's why they're using blank ammunition, because they want to train them up for target practice. So make that
whoa. They've been blacking out a lot of these documents. This is on the federal purchase sites. Well, the headline should be Homeland Security Training Army of Snipers. The fact that they're getting, counting last year, that's over 1.6 billion now that they're purchasing an additional 200 mil. This year alone, in 8 months or 9 months, you're talking, this is just staggering, 1.2 bill. And you're saying they're purchasing ammo for snipers now. My God, Watson.
Well, yeah, it's blank ammunition for sniper training. So that's what they say it's for. But yeah, as you said, they start to black out some of the numbers in some of the ammunition purchases on the Fed BizOps website, which anyone can go on and see what the federal government's buying. And then, of course, we had, well, people asked the DHS, why are you buying all these bullets? They refused to answer why. So then the Social Security Administration purchased, I believe it was 174,000 rounds of ammunition. And then the Associated Press and numerous other establishment media outlets came out and basically did a whitewash and said, this is, you know, the Social Security Administration has armed officers that go out and perform these duties. It's a relatively small amount of bullets for the whole country. Why is everybody getting in such a froth about it? There go the paranoid conspiracy theorists again. But in that article, in that Associated Press article, they failed completely to mention that simultaneously the DHS was purchasing, as he said, now up to 1.4 billion rounds of ammo. So they completely ignored that in order to pass it off as a wild paranoid conspiracy theory.
Well, that's going to be coming up, what, by the middle of the next hour?
Yeah, I'll be getting that article up on Infowars.com.
All right, well, this is huge news. We're going to go to break and come back into the geopolitical, but I'm begging our listeners and our media friends out there in talk radio, you name it, to get this article Paul's putting out and get it out, because the media responded with thousands of articles in the last month saying we basically made all this up and we have all the proof, and straw manning it down to 174,000 rounds. We need to force this story back out and say, no, Now it's sniper rounds. This is incredible. My friends, we are in the throes of a designed global meltdown, out of which chaos will erupt. Then the establishment will use that chaos as a pretext to bring in order. And let me tell you, it's creepy to have 500 news articles in one day over that, really. You can go to Google and see when it happened. I mean, for weeks on end, this has been going on for almost a month, saying that, there's no bullets or it's only 174,000, always focusing in on that and saying we're making a big deal out of 174,000. We're making a big deal out of 1.4 billion since last November till now. That's 10, 11 months. And now Watson's done the math just this year with an additional 200 million, a bunch of them for snipers. Just the magnitude of that, 1.6 billion. Billion. They are digging in like it's the end of the world. Now, I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but something's going on. Watson, I'm going to shut up, because we only got you to 45 after that. I got to get into the financial news. But continuing with all the stuff going on in the world, I wanted to get you on a few days ago, but you were busy, so now you're here with us, about all these articles about Al-Qaeda and the jihadis and burning down American flags. Go over the news, but give me your gut, because I've learned over the years, knowing you 11 years, you've worked with us, you're a smart cookie, one of the smartest people I know, especially for your age. What are you, you're not even 30 yet. Watson, what do you make of all this? I mean, what do you think's getting ready to happen?
Well, I think it's abundantly clear, if we want to take it from what happened last week, that the attack on the consulate in Benghazi and the killing of the ambassador had nothing whatsoever to do with this idiotic 13-minute YouTube video released by a convicted felon who was a former informant for the federal government. And it's not even a film. Nobody's actually seen the full film. It's a stupid 13-minute YouTube video. And I mean, it's so bad, you'd think it was supposed to be a comedy. I compared it to a situation where, if the Muslims are rioting over this, then Christians should riot over Monty Python's The Life of Brian. I mean, that's how pathetic and ridiculous this video is. And actually, it's funny that you can get away with portraying Jesus as, a paedophile, a rapist, whatever you like, in the West. People have made entire stage shows in London about it, and nobody batters an eyelid. But a badly made 13-minute YouTube clip supposedly insulting towards the Prophet Mohammed, when in fact all the insults were dubbed in afterwards. You can clearly see that. And the whole Middle East is in uproar. But the embassy attack, we know, was planned way in advance. US had prior knowledge, of course, because they armed and funded the very same people in Libya who carried it out. And it's the same people who flew Al-Qaeda flags over courthouses in Benghazi, the same people who are flying those same flags now, even as CNN says it's not the Al-Qaeda flag. They actually put out a report claiming that the black flag with white lettering isn't the Al-Qaeda flag, when everybody recognizes that it is. So they're trying to... It's so well known in the Middle East, it's like saying the Texas flag isn't the Texas flag. And, of course, don't forget your other report where the New York Times and CNN were saying that they were parading the ambassador through the streets trying to rescue him. And I heard that again on TV last night. They're still pushing it. No, you've got a bunch of guys sticking a camera in his face, shouting Allahu Akbar, giving each other high fives, fist pumping. And the New York Times came out and said, look, they were trying to rescue him. So they're trying to cover up the fact that these terrorists that the Obama administration put into power in Libya are now attacking your embassies, United States embassies. But that's not to say, on the flip side, that a huge number of these protests we now see around the Muslim world are not being driven by this stupid Mohammed film, because it's taken on a legend of its own. The media... Well, by the media, exactly. By the media saying it was the cause. It's like a green light to go crazy. Yeah, because a lot of these Muslim clerics are telling everyone to riot over it. You had the Hezbollah leader just yesterday saying everybody should go out and riot. And now they're talking about destroying classified documents at the US Embassy in Beirut. They're expecting that to be stormed in the coming couple of days. So it's partly contrived, but it's partly the fact that these Muslim leaders are telling their followers to riot. Because, And that's stupid, because if they see how ridiculous and stupid this video is, you know, they wouldn't be fussed about it at all. So, and you know, it's been released by a federal informant, a convicted criminal that's worked with the US government in the past. So I just find it interesting that these Muslims will attack embassies and riot over some sophomoric YouTube video, but largely stay silent, you know, when 1 million+ Iraqis get killed, or when, you know, the United States is helping to execute heads of states in places like Libya.
Well, it's like Americans get upset about football games. I mean, we've been trained to only get upset when the mainstream media tells us to. We'll be back to break more of this down with Paul Watson and get into the Iran situation. Is World War III looming? My friends listening all over the United States and all across the planet, as well as ships at sea, we reach conservatively 10 million people via radio a week. And that's not even counting a bunch of other. In fact, I'm being conservative. It's way more than 10 million. It is a great honor. It is a great responsibility. We certainly don't have all the answers, and I'm not perfect, but I'm trying the best I can. I got a pure heart. I love God. I love freedom. People ask, who do I work for? I work for you. Because if you're going to have a good life, I'm going to have a good life. I believe in win-win. I want justice. I want a level playing field. I want to be able to have a future for my children. It is just that simple. And when people lose track of that in a civilization, or when people just say, oh, that's the way it's always been, just let things be corrupt. When you give in to corruption, it's over. That said, we are so busy knocking it out of the park every day with just incredible interviews and reports and information and analysis that we don't tend to hype the real magnitude of what we're about to present. In the last 2 weeks, we've been doing a big Agenda 21 investigation that's involved 3 of my reporters and myself, or actually 4 of my reporters and myself. And tomorrow night on the Nightly News, we're going to air the findings of that. That includes the police being called on us, you name it. It's pretty wild. And the police showing up. But that's a side issue compared to the University of Texas interview that we were going to get last Friday with a professor, but we couldn't get it because the campus was evacuated with the bomb threat. They got the interview yesterday, and it is sensational. We got it with the professor that teaches sustainable development, Agenda 21 at UT, the professor. And, I mean, the nuclear family is bad. Well, it's in his words. And I'm trying to figure out with Aaron, who went up to all these local towns to show them taking over. It's a takeover. I'm trying to figure out how to combine Melissa Melton's piece with this. It'll be on the Nightly News tomorrow. And then it'll be on the radio Thursday. Thursday is going to be an original show, but it's going to be compilations of these new reports because I've got so many reports, I can't even put them all in the Nightly News. And then the Nightly News reaches millions every week, but each report maybe only 200, 300,000 people total. So more and more you're going to hear some of these reports here on the radio. But, I mean, I got a laundry list of new reports that we're going to be airing Thursday here. Tomorrow night, I'm going to record the intros to all these, so it'll be a special report Thursday. All right, let me go to Paul Watson, back to Paul Watson. Paul, you know, we saw churches blown up and burned, synagogues blown up and burned by al-Qaeda, put in via NATO out of Turkey and Jordan. And then the media has it in the news, but it's in the back of the paper. And then we're unpatriotic if we don't support al-Qaeda, blowing up churches, desecrating crosses, dressing up in Orthodox priest outfits. You know what? Free reign has been given to attack Christians. And here's the deal. I don't sit there and attack Muslims in general. This clash of civilizations is being orchestrated. But the Muslims do take some of the blame and need to understand that running off wildly to decry Christians all day and desecrate crosses and all this is offensive. And I think that's where you were starting to go. Where is the media, when you did the reports, showing al-Qaeda's own videos blowing up churches and desecrating crosses? Again, it's not just the radical Muslims. It's the scum that runs our country. They're anti-Christian, and they're giving the Muslim extremists free rein to walk all over us, Paul.
Well, I mean, that's the point. These extremists are a very tiny minority of Muslims. Most Muslims actually like Christianity. They want to get along with people. I mean, the Pope's visiting the Middle East this week, and there's pictures everywhere of Muslims posing with the Pope, posing with photographs of the Pope. But you don't see that in the media. It's not up there because they're pushing this clash of civilizations. But as you said, a lot of the Muslims actually have to harbour some of the blame because they're going out and doing this rioting. They're being told to do it by their leaders. And most of them haven't even seen the stupid video that's causing it all. But how it ties into Iran, which is what you were getting into before the break, you remember, I think it was last year, we had the story where basically the neocons came out through a number of different publications and offered Obama a deal. They basically told him, if you throw America's weight behind the Israeli attack on Iran, we will support you. That's what they said. Now, in the last few weeks, as it appears that, you know, Obama's starting to get cold feet, refuses to meet with Netanyahu on this scheduled Iran attack as all the big armadas and ships sail towards there. It seems that this contrived phony outrage in the Middle East is being pushed for that exact purpose, to crucify Obama on his failed foreign policy as a last, you know, desperate push for the neocons to get their man in. So it is a kind of jockeying for position amongst the two-party gang system, as Webster Tarpley said on your show a couple of days ago. And I had that thought last week, that it appears as though they're trying to make Obama appear like Jimmy Carter because he's starting to get cold feet on the Iran attack. And it's a last gasp effort by the neocons. Because if you look at the actual betting, not the polls in America show Obama has been in front with a lead of about 3 points. That's probably narrowed in the past couple of weeks. But if you look at the actual betting websites, and it's illegal to bet on the US presidential election in the United States, but the UK bookies rarely get it wrong. And they're saying that Obama has a 70% chance of winning the election, and Romney's down at 30%. So if you look at the actual betting figures, it seems clear that Obama's the favourite, and this contrived outrage was an attempt by the neocons to sacrifice him on his foreign policy, turn him into a figure of ridicule, Jimmy Carter-style figure. And that's where it's going. And again, they're using the radical Muslims to do it.
Well, look, I'm not obviously into lesser of two evils or pick your poison, you know, cherry-flavored cyanide or grape-flavored cyanide. But you've still got to look at these two guys and the power structure behind them. And Obama, it's a bunch of Chicago globalist, anti-gun, anti-family, socialist, you know, Agenda 21 in hyper-warp, which I absolutely hate and just loathe. So it's like asking me, do I want to jump in a wood chipper, or do I want to, you know, jump into a giant vat of piranhas? And either one looks equally horrible. And then you've got Romney over there, who at least has some good rhetoric on issues, but we know is bad news. And he's got the neocons all behind him who are absolutely torture, secret arrest, warrantless spying, wars, false flags. And then, you know, there's electronic voting fraud. I mean, Romney just a week or two ago was starting to beat Obama in polls. Now, because the media running these faux pas hoaxes, you know, he's fallen behind. And at a cynical level, for talk radio, gun sales, what, you know, we do, if I was just a business guy, I'd say, oh, I want Obama back in. But I'm morally, because people will go to sleep once Romney gets in. But then I kind of fantasize and think, oh, maybe Romney isn't too bad. Maybe he'll get in and be better. So I think, oh, I want Romney. Overall, I want Romney at a subconscious level, if I consciously think about it, Paul, because, you know, there's this idea of Bush was bad, maybe Obama will be better. Even though I knew Obama was going to be horrible and I didn't support him over McCain, I still hoped maybe, you know, he would end the wars and not torture everybody. But then he expanded this, as Chris Hedges said. The Pulitzer Prize winner suing over NDAA, and we have some news on that. And so, you know, now you just kind of hope, well, maybe Romney, maybe we'll change, you know, rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. But I think that answers my question. It's all rearranging deck chairs. I want your take on that, Paul. But here is this really serious news. Obama wins right to indefinitely detain Americans under NDAA. This is out of RT. It's getting almost no news. It happened late last night. A lone appeals judge bowed down to the Obama administration late Monday and reauthorized the White House's ability to indefinitely detain American citizens without charge or due process. But notice this is nowhere in the, quote, liberal press because they don't want to point out he's not a liberal. Last week, a federal judge ruled the temporary injunction on Section 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2012 must be made permanent, essentially barring the White House from ever enforcing a clause in the NDAA that can let them put any U.S. citizens behind bars indefinitely over mere allegations of terrorist associations. On Monday, the U.S. Justice Department asked for an emergency stay on the order, and hours later, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit Court of Richmond, Raymond Lawyer, agreed to intervene and place a hold. But it's only a hold. But that's still terrible, terrible news. I mean, this is so clearly absolute, pure, take him away to the dungeon, imperious tyranny. I mean, this is the criminals confessing to their criminal intent, to their tyranny, Paul.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it, that Obama signed this into law on New Year's Eve while everyone was out partying drunk. He put in a meaningless signing statement saying, I'm not going to use this against American citizens. He then repeated that about a week ago in that interview with Ben Swan. He said, we're never going to use it against Americans. And now they appealed. It got struck down by a federal judge in New York that you can't indefinitely detain American citizens. The Obama administration, within hours, immediately appealed it. And now, as you just said, they've got it overturned again. So it's all about hiding behind this smoke and mirrors of trendy, feel-good liberalness. And they're the ones all along pushing it. In fact, when it was passed, Levine in the Congress said that it was the Obama administration that specifically demanded the indefinite detention provisions pertain to American citizens. They tried to take out the language. The Obama administration said no. So they've been pushing it all along, and it's no surprise that they've, bitten back against this New York judge's ruling.
Well said, Paul. Thank you for coming on and reporting here on the radio for us. I know you'll be doing the nightly news later this week. And we appreciate all the fine reportage you and your brother as the dynamic duo are engaged in over there at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.net, one of the auxiliary sites. Any other tidbits you'd like to add? And again, what's the ETA on your 200 million bullet story?
ETA is probably about an hour from now. Just wanted to throw in a last thing about Syria because it all ties in. Basically, we had the article the other day, Syrian rebels burn US flag. And it illustrated the fact that these rebels are gleefully accepting their role as, NATO and US pawns on this grand chessboard. Because the situation in Syria boils down to the fact that, as Dr. Jacques Beres of Doctors Without Borders reported about a week ago, and this is an independent organization. He was actually in Aleppo treating the opposition fighters, the opposition militants. And he said that 60% of them, 60% were not Syrian. They were foreign fighters. So, imagine for a moment that China sends in PLA troops to radicalize and arm Occupy Wall Street protesters in America, or Tea Party insurgents, whichever you like. And suddenly you've got 40% of Americans backed up by 60% Chinese PLA troops attacking government buildings, carrying out bombings, assassinations. Would that be a genuine, organic, grassroots American revolution? Well, no, it would be a hostile takeover by a foreign nation. And whether you support them or not, the US government would be within their rights to repel that with all the force. And yet, the establishment media tells us that these Syrian rebels, most of whom in some cities, not all, aren't even Syrian, that it's an organic grassroots revolution of protesters and demonstrators who have, just by accident, I suppose, commandeered tanks and fighter jets and are attacking the government. Imagine if that happened in America, what the reaction would be. And again, you've had the Guardian reporting that Al-Qaeda meets with them, trains them how to make bombs, trains them how to carry out terror attacks. You've had other British reporters who say most of the accents these rebels had were not foreign. Some of them were English. They've got Muslims from Birmingham who are actually fighting on the side of the rebels. So how that can even be called, called an organic uprising from within the country. When
it's purely a proxy invasion. Great job, Paul Watson. Again, about an hour from now, your big report will be at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I don't know the headline to go with. Let's not give it out on air yet, but DHS now buying 200 million rounds, sniper rounds, or DHS has now purchased 1.2 billion in just the last year, or DHS is purchasing an additional 200 million rounds, now up to 1.6 billion in the last year. I mean, it's all just incredible. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Alex. Just
absolutely amazing. Okay, I want to get into some economic news here, but I first want to show this graph that Breitbart.com is reporting on here. And this is why mainstream media is supporting web shutdowns, free speech shutdowns, because they can't compete. And I want to show you a graph here. This is newspaper advertising revenue adjusted for inflation 1950 to 2012. And you can see here web advertising in the thinner line, if you're watching on PrisonPlanet.tv, is only a little bit above print collapse. There is a close to total collapse of newspaper revenue, both online and in print. Though in alternative media, even though we're in a depression, advertising revenue is up. And why is that? It's because no one trusts you or no one believes you. And that's unfortunate, because most news in the newspaper is pretty accurate. There was this much rain today. We need local newspapers. We need local boots on the ground. We need the professionalism of the old journalistic system. But I mean old 100 years ago, 50 years ago. What we have today, politically, what's giving the rest of news a bad name is the politicos at the press club, at the press briefings that regurgitate what they're told and that repeat what they're told. That's what's destroying it. So it's not just the economy that's causing this. Okay, let's continue here. Getting into the economy. We're going to skip this break because this is so important, this network break. Feds, QE infinity will push gold up to 2,400. That's CNBC. And they're saying that the quantitative infinity, they believe in the next year, will raise the price of gold to $2,400. That's Francisco Blanche, very respected global investment strategist with the Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, in a note to clients. Now, again, given the new open-ended nature of QE3, the upward pressure on gold prices should continue until employment is strong enough to require a change in policy, which isn't happening. Let's shift gears here. Now to other economic news that's here in my stacks. I have the report here. This is also out of CNBC. Dollar index headed for rapid collapse. Here's the chart. And it shows the dollar plunging massively in just the last few weeks. You can see that there on the chart. Dollar index headed for rapid collapse. Quantitative easing is really another word for currency wars. A weak U.S. currency puts continued pressure on the Japanese yen, the Chinese yuan, the South Korean won, the Australian dollar, and other currencies. Cheap money also fuels speculation. This money quickly drifts into commodity markets, absolutely driving up prices even more. So this is economic warfare, not just against foreign governments, but against the people of every country, including ours. And that's CNBC saying what Webster Tarpley said on the show yesterday and what Max Kaiser said. This is global bankers waging war on everyone. It's full spectrum war. They go fund the al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria, but not just there, in Afghanistan and Iraq. Because if you want to be there to have a war, I was talking to some military guys just yesterday. They were saying, yeah, you're absolutely right. When we went into Baghdad, we were ordered to drive right past the armament depots so resistance could get it, so we'd have an excuse to stay there for no bid contracts. Yeah, the globalists go start wars and create these groups so they have an excuse to go in. They run both sides. This has gone on for hundreds of years, but now it's scientifically done. That's why they caught British, Israeli, and U.S. mercenaries, including British special forces, not just mercenaries. That was London Guardian, dressed up as Sunnis killing Shiites and shooting at U.S. troops, because you've got to have a war to have $15 million blue tarps that really cost $100. It's criminal looting. These wars are like a bank robber going and setting fire to the local church so that the police are all at the church fire while they rob the bank. They go create the Al-Qaeda so they can go in and take over these countries, and then they think you're so stupid they move the Al-Qaeda to the next country. Then they use the Al-Qaeda to kill the ambassador. I mean, they think you're so stupid. Continuing here, FedEx says economy is worsening, cuts outlook. Well, again, people ask, well, Alex, why'd you buy gold at $260 an ounce? Why'd I do it? Because I knew that they were beginning a policy of devaluing the currency 11 years ago. And now here we are. The dollar in just 11 years has lost massive amounts of its value. Depending on the chart, it varies. Everybody knows that's happened. Now it's accelerating that loss, and other currencies are, and commodities, because of the speculation of all our tax money that's given to foreign banks. They go, we'll fix the economy, give us tens of trillions more to their operatives who they've put in the governments. Not just ours, but every government. This is global government. It's mega banks robbing you and giving tiny amounts of chicken feed to the welfare crowd so they think the government's their friend, so they can have them vote to take the rest of our money. FedEx says economy is worsening and says that, yeah, their shipping is going way down, and that's a great gauge of the economy, even going into the Christmas season. And so they're cutting their outlook. I want to bring Ted Anderson up because he's been talking about this forever. You know, when gold went up to almost $2,000, I didn't sell it. When silver went up to $50, I didn't sell it, even though I bought most of that silver at $5. And what have I been doing when gold was driven down to $1,500? I was buying it, and silver. A little bit here, a little bit there. You see, because I knew the laws of economics. And so, yeah, George Soros started buying a month ago. I said, watch it go up. Gold's up again today. Gold's up, what, $200 in the last few weeks? Because the dollar's being driven down and all commodities are going up. This is an economic war, a wealth transfer happening. How do you protect yourself? Well, I believe you do it by getting gold and silver. Let's bring Ted Anderson up here for a report on this. Ted, I know we don't have a lot of time here, and the next hour is coming up. I promise to have open phones and cover all this, but with what's happening in the Middle East, with what's happening to the dollar, when CNBC and Merrill Lynch sound like Alex Jones and Ted Anderson, I mean, the writing's on the wall. When the bigwigs are saying don't buy gold, while they're quietly buying it, not wanting us to know, because it exposes what they're doing. I mean, I believe now is the time to buy gold and silver. What's your take on this? And give us today's specials at Midas Resources.
Well, you're exactly right. You're talking about a currency war, and James Rickards has a great book out on that. You should read it. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. The United States is trying to lower the value of the dollar, export our inflation overseas. It's coming right back in the form of commodities, and gold is taking the hit right now because it's up. Right now at up $4.90. Been as high as $17.74.70 today. Currently, right now, trading at $17.68.40. And like you said, I mean, when you have MSNBC or CNBC, sorry, reporting that Merrill Lynch is saying that we're going to have $2,400 gold because they don't see. I mean, this quantitative easing thing that they're looking at now, rather than ending at a certain point in time, they're just going to say, when we see the numbers turn right, then we're going to change this. Well, they're saying that, you know, the unemployment figures aren't going to come back. Not like they're, you know, not any time soon. They're talking about 2014, that they're looking for $2,400 gold, 2,000 before the end of this year. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Alex, that book and silver dollar deal that we put together with the Obama deception, the American dream, and the dishonest money book, that particular offer, I had to raise it to $72, still way below what you'd buy silver dollars for. And when you add in the books and the videos, I mean, it's just a monstrosity.
Well, let's explain, Ted. Let's explain. 2 silver dollars, you're going to be hard-pressed to find 2 silver dollars for $72, 2 1-ounce silver coins of this quality, or any quality for that matter, and a free Obama deception, and an American dream exposing the Federal Reserve, incredible film, and the dishonest money book. I mean, that book's $20 right there. 3 free gifts and silver at cost or below as a loss leader. I mean, this is the definition of loss leader. It was 63 last week. It's 72 now. Take advantage. And when you call, ask for the Alex Jones radio specials. There's a whole spectrum of the day special of gold and silver at prices that are even lower than Ted has on the internet. Okay? I mean, the Alex Jones specials are the lowest. 800-686-2237. And even if you've already bought the silver dollars, you just want more at that price, give the books, give the videos to others, even if you've already ordered one. If I was, well, how many can people buy? Can they buy one or two, or how many of this deal can they buy?
We just make sure that we're sending them to new people. You know, it would drive me broke if somebody just ordered 100,000 of them for himself. So we do limit it to one per customer, but we do ask for, you know, just this one's for my son, this one's for my, you know, my dad, whatever. But you know, that's how you how you order.
800. Yeah, you lose money on this. You lose what, about $30? You're crazy. 800-686-2237. Crazy like a fox. What a free marketer there. How do you win in this market? Well, it's free, folks. You get the books, the book and the video is free. 800-686-2237. Ted, I want to talk about what QE3 will do in your view for 5 minutes. Then we're going to open the phones up to calls. I'm going to give the number out in the next segment and take your calls throughout this hour, and also intersperse it with a lot of the U.S. news, world news, and health news and economic news we haven't gotten to yet. We've discovered all over the United States, we already knew this, but we've got all the documents, the Agenda 21 groups taking over the cities and towns are really the toll road companies. So they've learned they've got to just take over the governments if they're going to make you pay them to drive down roads that are already paid for. What we're discovering is even worse than we thought. I was just talking to Aaron during that 1 minute break. It blew me away. Ted Anderson, we were just talking about gold and silver and also pitching it at people, incredible deals. I want to get into the writing on the wall. I mean, when Merrill Lynch and Bank of America are saying, yeah, for the next few years, things are just going to get worse, while the media says everything's fine, we're going into a depression. Gold and silver are only going to go up if they continue to hyperinflate. I mean, what does QE Unlimited mean? You know, $85 billion a month, just giving it to the bankers. What do you expect that to do?
Well, one of the very first things that are occurring right now is Egan-Jones, a rating service, just downgraded the U.S. currency, or downgraded the U.S. bonds. They used to be AA rating. Of course, they were AAA rating before Obama got into office. Now they're AA. Well, they just dropped them down to AA minus, which means that it's becoming a riskier investment to be investing in U.S. government securities. If you're sitting in long-term bonds, of course, if you have inflation, the value of the bond is going to go down when the interest rates rise. The very ability for the United States to be able to pay back these bonds in valuable currency is becoming a problem, and that's why they're downgrading. It's going to take savings away from the people that have worked very hard. Anybody that's sitting on a pension plan or a 401k plan, an IRA, it's going to drive that value down. And, you know, it makes it very difficult for people that have worked their years. For kids, my goodness, they're going to be working and paying taxes to service the interest on this debt. It's bad all around. The United States currency falling apart like this is going to create something very similar to Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, perhaps even the Weimar Republic in Germany back in World War I time. This is what we're looking forward to here in the United States. It's decreasing the value of the money. I mean, people that have worked and saved are going to be hurting. So really, Alex, it's destruction. And it's taxation without representation, and it's very difficult for people to get along. Unemployment numbers will not drop because of this. It'll go up. It creates instability in the marketplace, malinvestment, bubbles in various different places of the economy, and those bubbles burst, and it just creates, you know, it's stimulus on steroids. I mean, the reason why we got the Fed in the first place, at least the reason why they say they exist, is so they can stimulate the economy when the economy needs stimulation and slow down the economy when it's growing too fast. But what's been going on is they've created the business cycle and put it on steroids. It's like it's on crack now. They're creating way too much volatility in the marketplace, and there's no stability. How in the world can anybody in any business predictably run their business and expand in this type of a market. They can't.
And by the way, Ted, that is not hype what you're saying. We're looking at Argentina, Weimar Republic, maybe even Zimbabwean situation on this road. And the more they commit to it, the more they can't pull out. Now, very serious inflation is already here, probably hyper. What are the elites doing? They're getting into gold and silver. They're physically holding it. Who's got the best deal out there, bar none? Midas Resources. Give them a call. We've only got 30 seconds. What are some of the best coin deals you've got, Ted?
Well, right now, the best deal that I think we have is the Walking Liberty half at $16.95, but the Frank is at $3.86. Small pieces of gold get into the old 20s and 10s. $10 Liberties right now are at $11.05. There's a lot of things that we have, Alex.
Absolutely. 800-686-2237. My job is to win, 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 where everybody wins. So I tell you what I believe, what my research has shown, what I'm doing. Is any of this perfect? Nothing is, but we're doing the best we can, and I think we've got a pretty darn good track record of predicting what's happening. Get into gold today, folks. 800-686-2237. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Open phones in this hour on any of the issues you've heard me covering in the last two. Our government publicly putting al-Qaeda in charge all over the Middle East, allowing them to blow up buildings, churches, attack embassies, shoot innocent people, cut Christians' heads off, throw them off buildings. It's not even a news issue. It's like, oh, we better give our rights up. Look at the Muslims, when our government is the criminal group helping them, just like Obama shipping guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. You've got the media saying Mitt Romney's evil for saying 47% of the country is totally dependent, and so we'll vote for more government. Well, yeah, if you allow the public to vote themselves out of the Treasury, they will vote themselves everyone's wealth and destroy the mechanisms of production. That's what America was founded on stopping. And if you don't like that, you don't like America. And again, I'm not even defending Mitt Romney, but we have to defend him when he tells the truth in a private meeting and they attack him for it. This is secret information, Mother Jones calls it, because Romney won't say this in public. He needs to go. So, oh, it's secret. He had to say it in secret now, with a bunch of top donors of what anybody with half a brain already knows. You want to give us your take on that? The toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 1-800-259-9231. The Federal Reserve is out there hyper-monetizing things now, monetizing debt. And you've got Bank of America and Merrill Lynch and others saying $1,240 gold the next year and a half. You've got all this news coming in. And Ted Anderson, if you missed it in the last segment, broke down. I said, where's this going, Ted? 30 years in gold and silver. And he said, it's going Zimbabwe. It's going Argentina. It's going Mexico. It's going Weimar Republic. And now that they've announced QE Unlimited, that's pretty much the only place it can go. That's why you see commodities running back up. So briefly, Ted, recap what you were saying, and then I'm going to go to calls again on why it's important when they say they're stimulating the economy and they give trillions of dollars to foreign banks, what that really signifies.
Well, what that means is they're printing the dollars that we use and trade for products and goods and services. If they make a whole bunch of additional dollars to compete with what we're trying to buy, the price of goods and services are going to go up. It means that you'll be paying $10 a gallon for gasoline rather than $4 a gallon for gasoline. It could be $20. You know, the more they step on that accelerator, the faster, the more they're trying to push money into the system. But one of the things that you got to remember, Alex, is that the banking system is trying to get the money into the economy by lending it to us or having these bailouts go on. Right now, we're not a very credit-worthy nation because we have had this economic crisis. A lot of houses went back, were foreclosed on. A lot of bad debt had to be forgiven, and bankruptcies and so on and so forth. So there's not a lot of credit-worthy borrowers out there. But the Fed is trying to get the money into the system, and it's not reaching the people because, well, first of all, the banks don't want to take the risk. At 3% interest, you know, why would you do that when you just go over and turn and buy a treasury and not have to take on the risk of somebody defaulting on you? So the money's not making it actually to the people, it's making it into the elite's hands, the banks. And yes, indeed, they're able to make all these huge margins of profit just off of U.S. Treasuries. It's coming onto the backs of the people. And at the same time, they're shipping our money overseas to bail out the European banks, and all this stuff is driving commodity prices up. We're having a currency war with all these other countries watching the United States put on the accelerator on our printing press. They have to do the same. So now you have this war going on economically. And the whole thing spells out disaster for anybody that's been saving money. You're going to watch the value of the currency fall as long as we have this quantitative easing. That's why our forefathers wanted us to have gold as money, so we wouldn't do this. This is absolutely crazy to think that you can put a politician and a banker in the same room as a printing press and expect good things to come out of it. It's just not happening that way.
Nothing good ever comes out of it long term, and now we're long term. We're now, since the 70s, they got off the gold standard. We're now almost 40 years into this. Normally, countries don't even last that long. I'm surprised the U.S. went this long. I mean, usually, if you let them have printing presses in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America, they usually do this stuff within, about 20 years?
Well, we the people, Alex, the people that are listening to this show, the people of this nation should be insisting upon constitutional money. Get that printing press out of the hands of the politician, and what's worse, get it out of the hands of a business arrangement between bankers and politicians, which is the Federal Reserve System. Get that whole system and move it out of here. That's why Ron Paul was talking about ending the Fed. This is the kind of chicanery that happens when you have this type of situation. So expect that the politicians, now they're even saying it, that the Federal Reserve is saying that we're going to be quantitative easing until unemployment numbers start to go down. You know what? It's not going to happen that way. As long as they quantitative ease, they're going to create more malinvestment, more economic uncertainty.
Because whatever tiny amount of money gets back to the public is eaten up in inflation, especially in the commodities. But again, they know that. This is a consolidation of wealth. This is a plan. This is Agenda 21. Now, Ted, next year, can you believe 2013 is almost here? The 100-year charter is up. We need to start a movement to have Congress take back control of the purse and to kick the Federal Reserve out of this country. It's not federal. It's not a reserve. What's your take on that?
Well, Alex, obviously that would be something that I would support, and I'd be very much, I'll do just about anything for that. But we only have about 10% to 20% of the people that even understand why this idea is important. So we have to get on the ground, and we have to teach, and we have to train, and that's one of the reasons why this silver dollar offer that I have has the dishonest money book in it, because it explains that to people. And then you have the video, the American Dream, which also brings you right there. Then your Obama deception, it pulls it all together so people can get an idea, a picture of what this is about.
That's right. I didn't really have you on to pitch this, but it is important. If folks go to MidasResources.com or follow through at Infowars.com or call, you can get 2 silver dollars for $72. I mean, that's the lowest price anywhere, and then get 2 free films and a book. 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237. Ted, I want to go to calls here in a moment, and I'll let you go. I know you're busy, but briefly, as a business person, as a free market, constitutionalist, Ron Paul type supporter, I mean, I met you 16 years ago, and you're the same patriot today you were then, just more informed. Watching this all come true now, what is it like to hear Obama say you didn't build Midas Resources or the Genesis Communications Radio Network with now over 700 affiliates? You can argue the second or third largest radio network in the U.S. I mean, you didn't build that. Government did. But then expanding on that, Ted, now they're attacking Romney for saying 47% of the public are on government handouts, and that's a dangerous thing. I mean, I'm living in the twilight zone if that's a bad thing to say.
Well, obviously it's not a bad thing to say, and the more people that get in the wagon, there's going to be less people pulling it. Economically, what that means is that people are going to be voting for their benefits coming from the government, and as more people get in, you'll have more people voting for it, and there could be reaching a tipping point of no return. You know, once people are voting for government benefits, they're going to look for somebody like Barack Obama to put into the office who's going to promote this type of activity. Eventually, the people that are out there working their tailbone off, trying to make a living, pay for their families' needs, and pay taxes at the same time are going to give up. And, you know, that's when the country implodes. It's really a bad deal. That's not what the American experiment is about. We get out there, we work for ourselves, we make things happen. You know, we cover our own health care. We don't need to have somebody else on our back. Really, what we really want here in the United States, at least in my mind, is we want the government to get out of the way. And,
well, Ted, there's no doubt that tyranny is galloping on every front, that we've abandoned what made America great, and now it's like the boat has been untied from the dock. Tyranny is just racing away now, and everything is being removed, and government is digging in and buying 1.4 million rounds of ammo, and now 200 million more in the last year. Paul Watson's breaking that in minutes at Infowars.com. A bunch of it sniper rounds and training to take us on. They know they've done this. This is premeditated. And they think they're going to have half the public on the dole, and that the public with the government is going to come rob the rest of us, and they're getting ready for a civil war. I mean, this is a premeditated criminal takeover, and we are in so much trouble. And I wish to heaven that electing Mitt Romney would turn this around. But the puppeteers that run this country, they run Romney too, Ted. I know you're a Republican and a Ron Paul supporter, but we're going to break in 30 seconds. What's your take on that?
Well, again, I mean, I would take Mitt Romney any day over Barack Obama, but I'm reading Mitt Romney's book, and I honestly don't believe that he's going to be able to fix our problems. He doesn't understand the currency system. He may understand it, but he's certainly not focusing on the very root problem the United States has, which is the Federal Reserve System, and he should be. But you know what? When it comes right down to it, do I want to have Mr. Socialism, or do I want to have somebody that's built businesses? I'll take the business guy, that's for sure.
Well, we're going to find out here real soon, Ted. That's all I know. 800-686-237 if you want to call and get the free 2 videos in the book when you get the $2 silver at cost. Thank you so much, Ted, for spending time with us. All right, your call straight ahead. Get ready, callers. We're coming back. Thanks, Ted. The toll-free number to join us on air to cover any of the issues I've raised. I'd love to hear from you. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. I wanted to also get into federal judge reinstates unconstitutional NDAA and some of the quotes by the lawyers exposing it. I mean, what this does, it allows them to just disappear you into a black hole like anybody. And they're training police and feds for snatch and grabs. They're trying to tell us in these messages and the cop shows that torture is good. They admit the government's paying for that. They're also paying to promote government-run health care and TV shows. Your tax money pays TV networks to put propaganda in the shows. And then you tell the average yuppie that, and they're like, no, that's not going on. That's a conspiracy theory. We live in that type of propaganda state. In fact, guys, the New American has an article about it today on Infowars.com. I never covered it. The last 2 days, it actually came out Sunday about paying the networks with taxpayer money to put product placement in the TV shows. You print that for me because it dovetails with this torture stuff. I mean, again, we have a government that pays for them to promote secret arrest and torture like it's cool, and pays to tell you that government-run health care is good. I mean, that's like a Soviet Union or something. I mean, we're basted in evil. I'm going to shut up and go to your calls. Tony, Richie, Zero, Dalton, and others. I think we're having some phone system problems, so keep trying. Tony in New York, you're on the air. Welcome.
How you doing, man? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
What's on your mind today?
The question I have for you is, just found out my wife is pregnant. We're against abortion, but with the growing police state, World War III and the collapse of the dollar.
Yeah, your phone's a little muffled. Can you back away from it or talk right into it or something?
Yeah, no problem. Can you hear me good now?
Yeah, try talking right into the receiver, yeah.
All right. I said my wife, we just found she's pregnant. We're against abortion, But with the grown police state, the collapse of the dollar, and World War III, we're afraid to bring another child into this world.
Well, whatever you do, brother, listen, some of the best children ever are brought into war zones. Don't ever have an abortion. Have that child, and it'll be a special child. Yeah, sir. You're not thinking about having an abortion, are you?
Actually, I am not. I'm totally against it. My wife's totally against it. But at the same time, we take it very
No,
serious.
I think the answer in these bad times is to have more children. I have 3. We've been, quite frankly, trying to have more. But there's so much bisphenol A and everything out there. And so there you go. I mean, it's time to have more kids in the face of evil. We shouldn't be afraid of this. We should double down, bet on life, fully commit. I think all patriots should have more children. We need to commit to this. We're going to defeat the tyranny with God's help.
Thank you so much, guys. Because we were like struggling because we don't want to bring them into a world.
Sir, I'm going to have to let you go. I just can't understand you. You got to talk right into the telephone. But God bless you. It's good to hear from you. It may be a phone system thing, because the phone lines have been down. A few calls were able to get through. Richie in Georgia, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right. First of all, thank you, and God bless you guys. I'm a veteran gun owner and love America and love the American people. I consider myself a nobody. But I would just like to say, Jesus spared my life 8.5 years ago. I don't deserve to be alive, and I'm thankful that he had mercy on me, and he changed me. And I would just like to quickly say that, I believe our problem, one verse in the Bible that sticks out is 2 Thessalonians 2. It says, because you reject the love of the truth, God says, I will send strong delusion that you might believe lies and be damned because you did not receive the love of the truth. And if you look there in 2 Thessalonians 2, I believe that's where America is. We're kicking God out of everything. We want to commit adultery. We want our sin. We want abortion. We want pornography. So I think a lot of the problem is our own fault. It's my sin, and I'm not being hypocritical, acting like it's everybody else, but it's my sin. It's our sin that has created this situation. But on the other hand, trying to be proactive, I met with Jay Neal, one of our representatives last week, and just took a ride with him. He's a great man, a godly man, makes me believe in government. And he pleads the cause of the poor. He helps drug addicts and former drug dealers get on the right path. And I just talked to him, and I said, Jay, and I actually told him about you and introduced him to you, and he's going to investigate you. But I just said, Jay, what can we do? What can the people do?
And what did he say?
And moles have infiltrated the highest levels of intelligence.
And what did he say?
In the military. He acted, not acted, Alex, but he just seemed like this thing was just too big. It's just...
Yeah, that's what most of these guys do, is they pass the buck. We'll be right back. I can go to a public place, like a restaurant, and watch tables around me. And I can look in somebody's eyes. I've actually done this. And go over and say to them, you don't watch television a lot, do you? Mainline television. They're like, no, I don't. In fact, I don't have a television. I have a computer and watch some things on that, but it's there to steal your life away, to brainwash you. And then I could sit there and listen to somebody at a table next to me and hear what they say and do and look in their eyes and say, hey, what's your favorite show? And they'll start telling you how they watch 7 hours of TV a day, 3 hours of video games a day. And I'm not judging you if you do that. And it's another thing entirely, you've got a bunch of TV sets on, you're a media person, you're monitoring things, and you're in a conscious mode. But everybody's seen their husband, their wife, their children watching television where they have that zombie look, and you're like, hey, we got to go. And they're in a trance. Medically, the general public is very close to a daydream state, into the edge of sleep. And it's everywhere. People are not conscious. They're spectators from birth being set in front of television sets that are tuned with the flicker rate to put you into a highly suggestible state. I look at people in different degrees, myself included, who are in these different states of awareness, and it's incredible. And for the global crime syndicate operators, basically it's like we're going in slow motion, they can run 100 miles an hour. They're the Flash. They know how things work, they understand the tricks, they know how to manipulate us, and it's funny to them, and they've dumbed us down and put poison in the water and the food to make us even more malleable so they could take over, and they have. I talked about that court ruling last week. ABC News reported it. You can type in the search engine, court rules, that police can bar high IQs. Nationwide, they won't hire a cop with over 100 IQ. They're, quite frankly, looking for about an 85 IQ. 85, folks, is stupid. Very stupid. 70's mentally retarded. So, I mean, it's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. We are to be ruled by a bunch of idiots, by a bunch of scientific technocrats up there with 180 IQs. And humanity, I don't claim to be the smartest person around, but I've got instincts, and I don't like being a slave. And I figured out how these people work. And I'm sitting here watching them with their playbook, cheat everybody, and basically stick their leg out when you're walking by and trip you over and over again and laugh about it. And the public's been dumbed down to the point that the globalists trip them, and they don't even know why they got tripped, even though the leg's sticking out. And I'm just tired of it. I've had enough, and I'm not here saying the cops are all a bunch of idiots either. In the old days, they tried to hire people that were smart. This is in the last 20 years, they want stupid police. And they said, well, they'll follow orders. That's right. I mean, I've run into it, man, I tell you, with these game wardens. The last 3 times I was trying to camp out or even go have a fire on my own property in East Texas, where I've been going since I was born and never had this happen. And every time game wardens jump out of the bushes, and you'll be sitting there drinking a cup of coffee, you're not even hunting, and they're in your face and wanting to see a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I told the story, and I'm going to go to your calls, of my great uncle, Uncle Leonard, who, you know, when I was like 5 years old, I'd fly out and see in Houston and stuff. Really great guy, my grandfather's little brother. And he had pancreatic cancer, and they said he had a few months to live, and he did die. And he even had trouble walking at that point, but he wanted to go deer hunting again, just to do that. And driving into town to process the deer because he didn't want to gut it and stuff. They've got the deer feet sticking out the back of the, I mean, you know, the bed's open, there's a deer there. It's got a tag on its antler, everything, and the state police pull him over. Oh, that's a deer, you must be bad, you have a deer. And so, guy runs over and says, whose deer is this? And my uncle's not there because he's too sick to go. And my great uncle and my uncle says, along with my dad, oh, it's our uncle's. We're taking it to get it processed right here, get turned into, you know, steaks and stuff. And the state police guy is shaking and starts getting his gun out. And as you stay here, and more police get there and everything. And he goes, I'm taking you to jail. You're not allowed to transfer somebody else's deer. And, of course, he's an idiot. Probably got an 80 IQ. And they say, no, Texas law, the landowner can process the deer. And more police showed up and were like, oh, you're the Joneses. Oh, like, you know, one of the oldest families in that area. Oh, we're sorry. No, he's right. They're allowed to transfer the deer. But if they weren't, you know, connected to good old boys of old, they still took him to jail. Probably pistol whipped him the way he was acting, and the jury probably put him in prison. Doesn't matter if there's a law. I see folks go to jail all the time. There's not even a law. These judges are so demonic. They'll sit there and lie to the jury and just make something up and convict you for something else. I said I'd go to your calls. I'm actually loathing even going to East Texas. The reason I'm telling this story, just because it's so bad there. I don't even want to be around them. And I was thinking about if I'm confronted by them, I'm just going to go, I'm going to dress them down. I can't put up with their evil anymore. I can't put up with the weakness. And I can't put up with the groveling to the scum government anymore. Just a scum government everywhere. Scum, 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 scum. I hate you. I hate all the low IQ dummies who want to rule my life because you're idiots. because you couldn't go start a business, you couldn't live your own life, you couldn't get a woman, you couldn't get nothing but try to suck off me. And we're going to beat you, you trash. Don't you ever think you won't. We're going to beat you. Don't you ever think you're going to win. Bunch of, man, it's going to be bad living under tyranny, folks. They got their re-education camps. They got their pot-belly pedophiles ready to get your wife and children. They want to torture and murder you. They want to steal everything you got, and they will. They're arming up against us right now. And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I just can't even be around it anymore. And I'm sick of the public, too. I'm tired of the public groveling to bureaucrats, groveling to police, groveling to everything. Stop groveling. Stop it. Get a backbone. Stop groveling constantly. Stop being cowards. Zero in Iowa. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
I'm not doing too good. I'm having flashbacks. Go ahead.
Yeah. I got two things for you real quick. First, I got to say thank you. You have helped me open the minds of many people. I've been saying for years I didn't trust our government farther than I could throw them. And everybody thought I was crazy till I found you and introduced them to your shows, to your videos. And it's just helped my family tons.
Well, thank you for putting up with me. Just that the broadcast is real, so it's going to have its bumps. But go ahead.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I look forward to it every day. The next thing, I got a question for you. I got to throw this out there. I've noticed all the stuff in the Middle East and Iran and yada yada. And my thought is that the globalists are looking to start stuff over there and then a race war here. If you listen to
no, that's what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what they're trying.
I have told my family we're pretty much off the grid now. We grow our own food, we raise our animals, and I'm trying to get us farther away from any population, you know, and why? Why do they do this? You know?
The globalists love to wreck stuff. They love to bring down societies while they sit back offshore watching our funeral pyre, and then they roll back in as the saviors. They wreck every country. Libya was building up all of Africa, so they went and bombed the whole thing and put al-Qaeda in. The globalists are anti-industry, anti-freedom, anti-wealth. They don't just want the wealth. They don't want you to have it. They want you starving and dumbed down so they can fly over you. They call it flyover country. What do you think of them demonizing the fact that Mitt Romney said that, you know, it's dangerous to have half the public on the government payroll?
That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, anybody in their right mind can see they can see the truth. That's what they want. They want us to have to depend on them. You know, I refuse, no matter how hard times have been, I refuse to get any handouts from any government because I don't want it.
There are all sorts of tinkerers. It's almost always, and I appreciate your call, God bless you. You know, and by the way, the system harasses them. Illegal aliens are above the law, left alone, get out of jail free card. But if you had to typecast these people, they're generally, most of them are white, some are black, some are Hispanic. But if you have to typecast them, it's an old, if you have to assess them, it's about 60-year-old white Vietnam veteran in a half broke down work van who lives in their van and doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, goes to church 3 nights a week, who drives around fixing people's hot water heaters and fences and tinkerers, and the cops everywhere, all over the country, harass them and arrest them and give them tickets and won't let them park their van and sleep and chase them around until they're homeless. And I've talked to so many of these homeless. I'll go, you're not on drugs. You're not, you know, you don't look like you're schizophrenic. What's your story? Well, I'm from, you know, Vietnam veteran, and then I had a truck, but it kept breaking down, and they kept arresting me. So now I work over here when I can get jobs. This place takes me on mowing yards, and I live back there in a tent. But the drunk hobos keep robbing me. It's always the same story. I mean, it's just so pathetic what they've done to this country. And there are hundreds of thousands of these people conservatively who literally are working homeless. And the system knows who they are, and the police, I've seen them, just come in at them, boy. Some old man in a van, your life's over, punk. You're not gonna live in that van, you scum. We're driving you to the woods. We're driving you in there. We're going to get you. We're going to get you, American scum, if it's the last thing we ever do. And they are. It's their country now. Let's go ahead and talk to Dalton in Alabama. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, thanks for taking my call. I was really hoping to actually get Ted Anderson's take on the question that I have, but I'll ask it anyway.
I'll tell you what, if Ted's still around there, get him in the studio. John Harmon, try to find him. Go ahead and answer your question.
Well, I was just wondering, I understand and I realize that buying gold and silver is the best ways to have protection against the coming economic collapse. But what about us who are working, these low-wage and minimum-wage jobs who are living paycheck to paycheck? We barely have $20 in our pocket at any given time. What would your advice be for us? What can we do to, be ready for the economic collapse?
I would have water filtration, and I would have friends. The most valuable thing, more than gold or anything, is friends that know what's going on, who will support each other. The government will call it a terrorist militia, even though it's federal law to have militias. But I would just form mutual aid societies. And, the system doesn't want us to be able to stand together. We have a UT professor saying families should be gotten rid of. That's in the textbooks too, but, folks, they don't want us having anybody. They just want us to grow old. They want to euthanize us. They want to be able to kill babies even after they're born. It is just hell on earth with these people. These people are evil, man. But, of course, they're evil. They never made anything. They never did anything. They just sit on top of us, sucking off of us. And out of all the bureaucrats, I say the police are the best, because at least they have to live in the real world and actually engage in some services. The real bad ones are these professors and these bureaucrats and these government workers and these corporate mercenaries, and all of them. They think it's so funny. They think they're on the winning team. Silver, look, I bought most of the silver I've got. I don't have that much, quite frankly. My wife's always like, why? I told you, you were right. You need to follow your own rules, get more gold and silver. And I'm like, well, I need the cash we've got in the bank to run this operation. If everything shuts down, I'm going to spend all that money running this place. Then I'm going to sell my house running this place. I've got it all planned out, because it'll probably get so bad that people won't be able to support us anymore. And I'll try to stay on air as long as possible. Silver is probably the best investment. It's just hard to store. I don't even have that much, but like 4 big bags is really hard to deal with. And I bought most of it at $5. I didn't sell it when it went to 50, and I haven't sold it now that it's going towards 40 again. It's my emergency backup, and I bought quite a bit of gold. Not that much, but quite a bit for me at the time, back when it was like 260, 300, 400, 500. And, it just really worked, because it's not even an investment for me. It's to beat their inflation, and it's an emergency backup. But I think just your health is the most valuable thing. Well, your soul's important, so get right with God. Then your health, then friends, and people that can count on each other. That's why they want us all watching television all day, so we have synthetic friends, with the people on the sitcoms we watch on shows like Friends. They don't want us having real friends. So it's very important to not be reclusive, because freedom lovers a lot of times end up kind of being reclusive. And I've always been somewhat, not in modern times, more recent times, I've been a little bit reclusive. So I've been trying to be more social with friends and people. That's important to do. And it's just important to be human, to get back to what it is to be human, where men are men, women are women. And just, just that is victory. The enemy wants to get rid of that. Does that answer your question?
Sure does. Sounds like it's a hang together or hang separate situation.
It is. So I would find like-minded people. It's a pitch to support the show, but if you wear an Infowars.com shirt or even a Ron Paul shirt, you're going to meet like-minded people. You might meet kind of some neocons that are halfway awake with the Ron Paul stuff. You never know, but you wear an Infowars.com shirt, You know, the enemies are going to know who you are, but the patriots are as well. It's pretty much like flying your flag, wearing your colors. Ted's back. We only got 1 minute. This fellow was asking if you don't have a lot of money, what do you invest in? And I was telling him, invest in friends and family and in relationships, Ted.
Yeah, and become self-sufficient. I mean, start a garden, do those things. This book in Silver Dollar Offer gives you a way to get into silver dollars without having to spend a tremendous amount of money. It's very important, to me at least, that I'm armed and I have ammunition. Storable foods is a good idea. If you don't have a lot of money, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You're creative. It's your wealth is actually your creativity and your ability to be productive. So go out and do some things that people want and build up, the ability.
Here's the deal. If you don't have children especially, make work fun. I mean, I've had 3 jobs before. I mean, make it fun. Make it like, I remember my grandparents, people, old folks, farmers, those guys like to work. I mean, it was like a game to just really bust your butt. So take on 3 jobs, brother. That's how you get ahead. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We need to get angry. We need to find our dignity again. I mean, when I watch citizens just bow down to bureaucrats, bow down to census people with plastic badges, a TSA, all of it is the opposite of freedom. Our country's dying. Our world's dying. We're being overrun by spoiled brat criminals that have joined forces with the kleptocratic parasite class. And I for one, am done. I hope that caller liked Ted running back to the microphone to give you his take, but it's basically the same thing I was telling you. It's not fun to work 3 jobs, but if you've got to get in a position to be able to protect yourself in hard times, you'll be better off than others. I certainly would not be sitting on my laurels right now. And I know it's rough. I know it's tough. Citizens are going to probably have to start doing what illegal aliens do. And that is, even though the system knows we're to be henpecked as citizens and that we're trash, it's going to have to get to the point where we just stop complying, just out of necessity. And a lot of people are stopping paying taxes across the board. A lot of people are stopping to buy all the stuff. A lot of people are just refusing to go along with it. I mean, here's Fox News, ICE agents. Obama won't let us arrest illegals. I've had sheriffs on where they arrest illegals with weapons, with drugs. They're told to, to release them. That was during Bush. Again, it's a 2-tiered system. They've only got the illegals here to drive down the wages. Again, it's lawless. But then the cops are so like attack dogs on us, and because we're known as the milk cow. We're known as the joke. We're known as the food. And message to government, I ain't your food. Message to government, I'm not scared of you. Message to government, I'm not going along with you anymore. Matt in North Carolina, you're on the air. Welcome, sir.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Worldwide broadcast. What's on your mind, bud?
Look, you're wrong about the Federal Reserve Charter, Alex. It's open-ended now. They changed it at some point. So the only way that we can get rid of the Federal Reserve legally is if Congress abolishes it or if they commit an illegal act.
No, you're right, but I know that Ron Paul's pointed out that the 100th anniversary of the charter is a good time to point out that its charter's up. So it's really apples and oranges, or, I mean, it's debating. My point is, we've had it 100 years. Yes, we can get rid of it any time. Congress should take back its power. That's what I was saying.
Absolutely. But now, Alex, the only way we're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve is if the people move out of the fiat currency by themselves. And that means start, bartering in gold and silver.
And that's why they're going after the farms. They hate these co-ops where people get together, especially. It scares them that yuppies are now learning how good organic food is in co-ops. That's why they're coming after it. You're right. They're scared of us bartering. They're scared of us acting like real humans.
So they don't want you to be independent. That's what the country's all about, is being independent.
Exactly, exactly. The country is about being independent. If you want to be taken care of so much they put you in a forced labor camp, go to North Korea. I mean, what's your message to all these people that think we should be slaves of the government?
Well, once they try it, they won't want it anymore. Once you become a slave, you won't like it so much. And that's that.
What's your view on the state of the world right now?
We're in bad shape, Bo. We're in real bad shape. These people, they think they deserve this. They think they deserve the world. You know, why? Because they can. Because nobody out there is doing anything. If you're going to sit on your laurels, you're going to get taken over. That's just how the world works.
That's right. You know, you're absolutely right. I've gotten to the point now when yuppies shoot their mouth off to me or try to boss me around, I get right back in their face. Not because I even want it, but because it's the right thing to do. I had some guy bulk me the other night in public. I said, all right, man, you want it, you got it. He backed off. Yeah, it's Tuesday here. We're taking some more of your phone calls. I've been kind of throwing a fit here on air today some because I mourn the pitiful state of our country. I'm upset about it when I see people not doing well. And then I run into these trendies who think it's funny when people are doing bad.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too.
And I see us just overrun by criminals, idiots, and slime balls. And I'm just getting tired of it. And I'm tired of people that think there's not a cost for what they do. I was walking into a business just the other night. I was meeting my wife and children for a movie. And there's this big line for some other movie, and I saw a listener, and I was shaking his hand as I came to the doors. The line was backed up, and this lady said, hey, the line's over there. And I said, oh, great, I was just shaking this fellow's hand. She goes, hey, the line's over there. And I was like, well, all right. And then her boyfriend, her husband, was kind of doing like this at me. And I went, hey, I just told you, I just walked in. We're not cutting, ma'am. We're just going to go over there. I kind of sounded like, you know, the sheriff in Mayberry. That's how I try to act. And she just looked at me with hate. And I said, you know what? You're going to answer my question. I told you repeatedly I'm going to get in the line. I'm not even going to the movie you've got. In fact, I've already got my tickets. My wife printed them. She's over there. I'm not going to see The Princess and the Bride like you're going to see it. I see that's what you're in line for. And then they turned around. I went, hey, you wanted to bug your eyes out at me because you're 6'4", pal, and I'm 5'10", 5'11". I said, turn around. And the guy turned around and he's like, mister, we just want to, yeah, you want to act like a man, but not back it up. And then people are like, oh, please don't. And I'm like, you know, and I went outside, changed clothes so it didn't make a scene. Somebody noticed me and went in and saw the movie. But I mean, you know, 3 times you got in my face, man. 3 times. You want to get in a fight? You think you're big and tough? 3 times. 3. This isn't a game. All of you. I bet that guy's a government worker. I bet he's one of these people that wants to push it and push it and push it. You need to stop pushing it. All of you. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of your wife trying to henpeck me. I'm sick of ninnies trying to run my life. I'm ranting. I'm sorry. I am mourning this country's death right now, and I'm angry. I wish you people that wanted to protect lines, or you're mad at the neighbor because their dog went to the bathroom, I wish you'd get as mad about this government as you did about that. I wish you'd get mad about what's going on in this world and the cancer viruses and the vaccines and the fluoride water. I wish you'd get mad about all the boondoggles. But you won't do that. You'll get mad at your fellow humans. I mean, you got to understand, too. I said I'd go back to the calls. I'm just out of time here. I apologize, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm back. I'm angry because these people get angry over nothing. I mean, you come in glass doors, somebody shakes your hand, you're not even in the people's line, and they want to narrow their eyes at you and look at you with teeth-grinding hate. And some guy wants to bow up to somebody for nothing. For nothing. And then you won't do anything for your country or anything for people around you. You think all these instincts for violence and everything are like show. You think all these instincts and everything God gave us is about acting tough. I'm just so tired of it. And I'm in over my head. I've said that a lot. I didn't sign on to this to be, the main spokesman against the globalist or anything. And I don't think I'm up to it. But you know what? We are all dealt the hand we're given, and we've all got to do what we got to do. But I'm tired of being shoved around. I'm tired of being pushed around. And people say, hey, get along, go along, do what you're told. That delivers slavery. That delivers enslavement. That delivers bondage. That delivers absolute hell. This thing where everybody's supposed to be effeminate, the women are supposed to be weak, the men are supposed to be weak-kneed. I will not be part of any of this jellyfish culture. It's time to rediscover humanity, rediscover your strength, and say no to evil. And that starts by becoming red-blooded.